This is Our Money, a program on anti-corruption investigations. My name is Bihus. This is not a political program in any way, but once a year we analyze financial reports of political parties. Let me remind you, the parties are now financed by the state budget, thus they must publish their incomes and expenses. So we look at their reports and find all sorts of things there. Fraud, which leads to the parties accusing us for groundless antagonism. That's what happened last year. But this is really worth it, at least to see the fatherland changing their membership fee system after our program came out. And the opposition bloc, which got additional funding from fake companies, well, they didn't change anything, but we hope to make them get their well-deserved punishment. So, why did the grandmas stop loving YouTube? Which regions got the order to finance PPB? And how many shades of fraud does the NACP need to see to do BDSM to OB? And what do all these acronyms mean? Find out in Mariana Matrunich's report on financing of political powers. This is our leader, this is our team. They're going to tell you this after the election. We have begun reforms that no other government dared to. Officially, the oligarchs don't finance political parties. Recently, a special law made ordinary citizens the main sponsor of political parties. Basically, parties now get state funding. Not all of them, only the most popular, those that get at least 2% at the last elections. This law provides for Ukrainian citizens to finance political parties instead of the oligarchs. Anticipating discontent, I want to clarify that it will cost them 3 cents per month for every citizen. The law on financing political parties' adoption was demanded by the EU. It was planned to reduce political corruption, for parties should now publish their incomes and expenses. Well, official incomes and expenses, which will be checked by the National Agency on Corruption Prevention, NACP. Yes, they don't only check the declarations. We already have the experience no one has on analyzing the reports of political parties. 2017 was the first full year under the new rules. Then, almost $19 million were allocated by the budget to finance the 6 parties. The party leaders are reluctant to talk about the expenses. The question, why are you spending money on this, sounds absurd. Girls, I can't talk right now. We do spend. The law doesn't prohibit it. It's more complicated with the incomes. Aside from budget money, the parties are allowed to accept contributions from citizens and businesses. Last year's biggest scandals were about the incomes. My child, I don't have a pension that big. Don't judge them strictly for answering like that. These companies are not registered here. I have to check which companies, I can't tell you exactly. The People's Front didn't comment on renting premises from the Revival Party. I don't know, I didn't even think about that. Last year, we already analyzed the party's financial reports for 2015. Then the donors were the problem, while in 2017, the expenses turned out to be more interesting. Petro Poroshenko bloc, aka Solidarity Party, got $4.25 million of state money in 2017. More than a half was spent on regional departments. $400,000 were spent on salaries, $500,000 on propaganda, $230,000 were spent on the cheapest and maybe the most efficient type of provincial advertisement, the party newspaper. Almost every big party has its own newspaper. The PPB has used a fraction of state money on international trips. These trips are usually paid by the inviting party, but sometimes they ask the invited party to buy the flight tickets. The Solidarity Party supports the civil society as well. A civil organization of Saakashvili's associate was paid around $40,000 for a couple of projects done for a party. Almost 80,000 more were transferred to two newly created companies with the same address, tied to the OSCE's mission's president, not the real one, but of an NGO with the same name. The Ring Company firm also gets a large amount. For what exactly? They did a study for us. A sociological one? Not sociological, more like a focus group study of opinions. It's not direct sociology, not field studies. It's more wide. It's a mystery how the PPB knew about the companies created just before they were paid. A bigger mystery is how they could contact them. It's impossible to visit their offices, and they don't answer the phone. If this was a tendering, we would have suspected corruption. The subscriber cannot be reached at the moment. The PPB mentions donations along with budget money in its report. Among them are donations by their own MPs. The amounts aren't very big, but last year the MPs didn't know about their contributions. My name is in the report, but I haven't done any donations. This year, the party has warned its members that they are donating. Party donations are still there. Of course they are. The declaration will be filed before the 1st of April. You'll see the amount there. But some still didn't know. Donations? I've never heard about donations to the Solidarity Party. There's a law on financing parties. I think it's being followed. And there must be enough money in Ukraine to finance the branches of our and other parties. Even ordinary citizens donate to the party. Kharkiv residents were the most generous. They have contributed an overall of almost $38,000 in small donations of $1 to $2. We have managed to attract the most donations from Kharkiv and I think Donetsk regional branches. But the people's financing of the presidential party is strangely irregular. Basically, only two regions have financed the party, Kharkiv and Donetsk, giving $38,000 each. The others gave 10 to 20 times less. Even the president's native Vinnytsia region contributed only $115. The distribution is strange on the regional level, too. A single district can declare the donations. We didn't go far and look at the reports of the Kiev Regional Party branch. Kiev region has 25 districts, but only one is present in the report, the Kaharlik district. It's in Kaharlik and in the Birdy village of the same district, where people don't pitch pennies on their favorite party. All the party incomes and expenses must be checked by an independent auditor and the NACP. What about auditing firms? How can a party choose an auditing firm? It should choose it as a public competition, but it's not required by law as far as I know. Before an external audit, the PPB has conducted an internal one and consulted with the company of Serhiy Prolipko, head of the State Affairs Department. Interestingly enough, his company consults the State Affairs Department as well. The external audit was conducted by a company linked to Ihor Kalinin, Yanukovych's ex-guard and the ex-head of SBU. Few knew what is in budget financing and few took on auditing of political parties. We are building the future. Petro Poroshenko's bloc Solidarity. The expenses of political parties are limited in neither amount nor purpose. The law intentionally provided for using the money exclusively on youth or women's organizations, but the final revision lifted all restrictions and now they just spend it all on TV advertising. So, the parties are paying for TV advertising with state money. The forerunner is Yatsenyuk's People's Front Party, which spends more than 20% of the $4 million on advertising. While others are lying, we did what the country needed. Head of their fraction, Maxim Borbak, is convinced that it's necessary. The party's position is to inform the populace about the activity of our party and fraction. I've always said it won't be easy. The problem in spending that much money on ads lies in not being able to check whether the party has paid the amount it reported or twice more. We can't say for sure if it was labeled ads or hidden ads or planted articles or a mention in a talk show. The People's Front spent $2.2 million on salaries and premises. They've kept the tradition of renting the offices from competitors. In 2017, the People's Front paid $300,000 to the sister of Anton Yatsenko, tendering king and vote fraudster from the rival party. I'm neither my sister nor the People's Front. $300,000 more was allocated by the People's Front for another office to Valery Pisarenko, an MP of the revival. Are you leasing the office to the People's Front at the market price? Yes, it's a common market price. You can check other premises in that office. Last year, it was discovered that the opposition bloc gets an additional financing by shell companies. For example, the founder and head of one of the firms told us on camera that it's the first time he's heard about that. The National Agency on Corruption Prevention, which should have tackled issues like this, complained instead about a lack of resources and wasn't that interested in general. This year, we now face the expected result of this policy. The opposition bloc party, one of the most troublesome, according to our last year's study. The only political party that proudly and publicly refused state money, but then got almost $2 million of budget funds. At first you refused financing, but then accepted it. Why? Because we saw that the money is plundered from the budget, so we better take it for our political activities to protect those who are plundered by the budget, by the country's leadership. The opposition bloc's main problem is its non-state donors. In 2016, companies registered in a fishing state enterprise and a barber shop donated to the opposition bloc much more than the state budget did. The official owner of the company could remember neither the company itself nor whose donor he was. Do you own the Hyperion Mega Company? No, I don't. How did you get on the list then? I don't know. After a couple questions, the opposition bloc donor got very patriotic. What about last year? No, I didn't. I'm a patriot of Ukraine. What do you mean? A criminal case was opened after our lawyers filed reports to the police and the tax service. The formal owner of the fake company got less patriotic and immediately testified he is the real owner. He did finance the opposition bloc, but was afraid to tell us that. The case was dropped. And what about last year? No, I didn't. I'm a patriot of Ukraine. What do you mean? The NACP, which should punish schemes like this, was unable to check the companies. Did you check the donor companies from their list? Yes, we looked through all of them. Most of them are legal entities. We had questions to some of them. We had to figure out the ultimate beneficiaries of some of them. Did you succeed? Unfortunately, we don't have the necessary resources to look through It's no surprise, then, that the opposition bloc did the donor company trick again in 2017. The companies were less generous, though. Their total contribution was $150,000, while in 2006, it was almost $500,000. Polybud, do you remember this firm here? Haven't heard of it. Polybud Service, are you sure? The owner of Polybud Service is from Bukov City. She has donated $38,000 to the opposition bloc. Let's visit her. She lives in a typical apartment block. That's where a rich woman lives. Parameter under guard. A doggy. Ordinary life of ordinary opposition bloc donors. The sad story of the rich donor was told by her mother. Classic. Going through tough times, the woman sold her personal data for a meager sum of money. They paid her $5 to $10. She came there and they paid her some money. I was left unaware. Did she sign any documents? She did, and when the tax service came, they saw that the signatures were different. Polishuk's companies have attracted law enforcers' attention, but not by this. $38,000 is just the most recent development in the circle of that woman's fraud. Her family is surprised. She lives with me. I provide for her. I work. She has only an unofficial part-time job. She doesn't have that kind of money. Nothing at all. If she got the $38,000, why didn't she buy herself an apartment? Didn't she have enough brains? She's that kind of person. She'd only finished a plain vocational school. She's just brainless. Head of opposition bloc party Yuri Boyko pretends to be hearing about his main corporate donors for the first time. Why are shell companies still your sponsors? What, really? Are you serious? You'd better check it. We'll look into it. Please do. Only the NACP is not surprised. They consistently didn't see anything wrong, neither last year nor this year. If the facts you have mentioned, we will investigate them, but for now it's just words, hypothetical assumptions. For today, we haven't found anything fake, but I'm not saying it's impossible. She lives with me. I provide for her. I work. She only has an unofficial part-time job. She doesn't have that kind of money. Getting thousands of dollars from ordinary owners of ordinary fake companies, the opposition bloc has spent them on nothing other than ads about the hard life of ordinary people. TV channel Inter was paid $500,000. The country needs a power to defend ordinary Ukrainians. Just do it. The Self-Reliance Party also promotes itself with taxpayer money. They've spent almost $700,000. The question, why are you spending money on this, sounds absurd. To reach people with our ideas and information. Last year, the Self-Reliance Party got a total of $3.8 million from the state budget. Half of that was for gender equality. The party members have donated only $19,000. We develop our network. We try to support all our party organizations, up to the local ones, which no other political power does. 2017 was a special year for Self-Reliance's salaries. They appeared. Previously, all the staff was claimed to be volunteers, and now they've spent $650,000 on salaries. Ola Leshko's party gets only $1.5 million from the state budget. The politician, who's always in the spotlight, doesn't save on coverage. A third was spent on PR. Almost $500,000, the cost of Leshko's mansions. They spent it on propaganda centered on an ordinary Ukrainian. Leshko's favorite channels are 112, Priami, and News 1. Not on ads. We don't advertise. We inform the voters on the results we've made. It happens so that the most people's deputy hides behind the tallest fence. Leshko leaves his $600,000 house to hand out roses and promises on Women's Day. Leshko's party spent the least amount on renting the office. The office is on Leshko's property, located in the same building with the People's Front. $60,000 for an office in Dnipro was paid to a company linked to Leshko's party member, Sergei Rybelka. Does the Nautilus 2006 belong to your party? You know, for 3 years I've been serving the state. I have no time for other things. All the companies I own you can find in my declaration. $20,000 were spent on souvenir plastic bags, pens, pencils, and other promotional gifts. In 2016, Oleg Leshko drove an armored Escalade worth $150,000. The party paid the rent. The rate was $250 per month. In 2017, the car disappeared from the party's report without a trace. On account of non-state funds, Leshko's radical party is simple, no side funding. They collected it from their own. A group of party members donated around $38,000. Tymoshenko's party suffered positive change. After last year's huge scandal with Tymoshenko's grandmas, the pensioners who seemingly donated hundreds of dollars, the Fatherland Party decided to change its donation system and stop exposing itself. Yulia Tymoshenko's Fatherland Party has undergone global changes with its donor policies. In 2016, the party's HQ reported $300,000 donated by citizens. The citizens donated in a weird way, all at the same time and in large amounts. It was quickly established that the donors were unaware of their contributions. According to the party's financial report, Anatoly, a pensioner, donated a total of $700 across several payments in 2016. He is really a fan of Tymoshenko and a member of the Fatherland Party, but his actual donations were much more humble. They told me the membership fees were 50 cents, then $1. There was a time when we were donating $4 as help. Anatoly's fellow party member also donated to Yulia Tymoshenko's party, but not the amounts listed in the report. According to the party documents, she donated $75 a couple of times, donating a total of $570 to the party. We paid some donations. I think it was 7 cents. I don't remember. Once it was 15 cents, I think. Who would have sent this simple woman to pay $75 when her pension is $40? My child, my pension is less than that. Confronted with the findings, Yulia Tymoshenko tried to convince us that the people were scared into denying their contributions to the party. Don't judge them strictly for answering like that. They're just afraid of political persecution. Yulia Tymoshenko has assured us that the donors were real, just afraid to admit it. But after our 2017 report, the Fatherland's popular support vanished. Since February 2017, citizens of Kiev region didn't contribute a single cent to the party. The party, on the other hand, said it was just a coincidence, and that they just stopped accepting donations during a small-scale internal reorganization. It may seem that we were paying and then they stopped. It's connected to the issue that we're trying to reorganize our work. We've got a letter from NACP where they made a couple of certain observations. So we delegated the donations to the regions and asked them to make a break for some time, while we regulate the issue of member donations. The NACP says there were some problems, but the Fatherland made amends and stopped using pensioners to make donations. We've done a surprise inspection and found out that donations to the party were made using certain citizens' personal data. Fortunately, the Fatherland Party does not have any donations like that anymore. Now, the Fatherland's main nonpartisan donors are companies linked to Konstantin Bondarev, head of the Fatherland's regional branch. A number of companies have donated a total of more than $60,000. One of them is registered in the office of a cheap cash pawn shop. Previously, its founding company from Cyprus paid $95,000 directly to Yulia Tymoshenko's husband. We are honest acquirers, and we aren't a political pawn shop. Money gets allocated to our accounts and we're grateful. On who it is linked to, ask them directly. It's their responsibility. The law allows the parties to spend state money on their development. This development is realized through ads, souvenirs, or by legalizing an army of party workers. All in all, the main goal of the law is fulfilled. There are no oligarchs in the financial reports, because the reports only mention official funds. The elections are soon, and I'm sure we will discover many interesting things about the funding of the parties, and especially their expenses. That's all for today. You can watch all of our episodes on our YouTube channel. Write us on social media, and if you have an interesting topic, feel free to email us. See you on air in a week. Goodbye.
В телеефірі побачимось вже за тиждень. До зустрічі.